Olympus 12-40 is a standard zoom range lens for micro four thirds system. It's a part of their Pro series of lenses which should guarantee exceptional build quality and optical properties. Overall build quality is superb. Lens is weather sealed, as is the case with all Olympus lenses from their professional line. At around 390 grams it can be considered fairly lightweight. It extends when zooming and zoom ring slides perfectly and with even resistance. I haven't noticed zoom creep during the time I use this lens. Focusing is internal, uses focus by wire system, and front element does not rotate when focusing. Manual focus can be activated on camera or by pulling focus ring toward the lens mount, a solution I really adore. In manual focus position a distance scale is revealed. Lens hood is part of the retail package. Here are a few examples how much zoom range 12-40mm lens has. In field of view, this is the same as 24-80mm lens on a full-frame camera. Between 12 and 25mm, this lens is sharp already at f2.8 both in center and corners. Stepping down aperture doesn't make any difference. This is really impressive performance and makes this lens a great choice for landscapes. At 35 and 40mm things are a bit different. Wide open at f2.8 performance deteriorates both center and in corners, so the lens should be stopped down to f4 for best results. Focus breathing is visible but is not very strong. It will depend on your own preferences if this is acceptable level of breathing for your work. At the first glance I thought this lens is parfocal. When I used zoom during video my subject remained in focus. Taking still images at both ends of zoom while in manual focus without adjusting it gave same results, but something was not quite right. So I redid this test and this time moved zoom ring as slowly as humanly possible. Can you notice this? Look closely. The lens goes slightly out of focus at one moment and then springs back in focus. This implies 12-40mm lens is not optically parfocal but is made to behave like one even in manual focus. In other words, lens is changing focus by itself in order to remain focused at the same subject distance as I focused before I started to use zoom. In real life this will be irrelevant for most users, but it is a good thing to keep in mind if you plan using this lens for close-up videos in 4K resolution, when these focus adjustments can be easily noticed. One detail I couldn't check is whether this lens reacts the same on all Olympus bodies or just the EM1 Mark II. In other words, I am not completely sure if this is lens feature or body feature. If some of my viewers could verify this on older camera, I would be grateful. Chromatic aberrations and distortions of this lens are removed in both JPEG and RAW files on EM1 Mark II on which I used it, so I have nothing to report on this regard. Chroma performance is surprisingly good. Center of the frame doesn't show it and stars in the corners got a bit elongated, but the effect is not very strong. I think this lens could easily be used for astrophotography. Light fall off is very well controlled. At wide angles it is very low even at f2.8 and practically invisible at f4 and beyond. At 25, 35 and 40mm it becomes a bit obvious, but once again only at f2.8. Even then I think it is easily removable and once you stop down to f4 it isn't an issue. Flare resistance is usually good in real life situations, but I recommend being careful nevertheless. At wide angle and with closed aperture, sun in the frame can cause ugly blobs, and from 25 to 40mm some loss of contrast can be observed. Autofocus highlights have a nice outside shape but produce so-called dirty look with all these circles and blobs inside them. I prefer them when they are completely uniform. Beside that, bokeh is nice and blurry, and thanks to a good close focusing distance, you can come very close to your subject and produce nice background separation. Closest focusing is possible at 20 cm and has 0.3 times magnification. Not true macro, but still rather good magnification that can be used for occasional semi-macro work if this is the only lens you have with you that day. Here's a real-life example of what can be shot with it. There are 7 aperture blades in this lens, so you can expect 14 pointed starbursts. Overall, I am impressed with this lens. When you consider it has excellent optical properties, constant f2.8 aperture, weather sealing and quite usable close focusing in under 400 grams, I'd say this is one extremely versatile lens and can recommend it without any reservations. As for similar lenses, you can get Panasonic 12 to 35mm f2.8 and Panasonic 12 to 60 f2.8 to 4. I haven't used the first one, but have reviewed the new 12 to 60. Compared with Olympus 12 to 40, Panasonic is slightly lighter and does better in video department. It is truly parfocal and has no focus breathing whatsoever. It handles flare better and has a bit of extra optical zoom, but only f4 aperture at 60mm. Olympus, on the other hand, is visibly sharper both in center and corners, has better bokeh, less vignetting and constant f2.8 aperture. It also has clutch mechanism for manual focus, which I prefer over traditional switch at the side of the lens. At the time I am making this review, Olympus is significantly cheaper by almost 300 euros. Having all this in mind, I would personally go for Olympus lens. That's all for this review. I hope I gave you usable information. If you have a question, feel free to ask me in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel for updates, and if you want to support my work, buy stuff on Amazon using my affiliate links below the video. You will not pay any more than otherwise, but I will get a small percentage. Thanks for watching.